Godzilla! Yeah! And Kong. Yeah, Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. So I get my theater reaction. I had a ball with the movie. Me and my girlfriend both were just really enjoying it. But my actual thoughts on the movie, no, I like legitimate thoughts. It is what a lot of people have been saying. This movie isn't. This isn't -1. Just to go with what everyone was saying. This isn't -1. This is Godzilla versus Megalon, or Godzilla versus Ghidorah from the show era. This is goofy monsters and fighting each other fun. But man, does it deliver on that? Does it deliver the thrills, the action? It's got some laughs to it. There's a little bit of heart when involving the daughter and the adopted mother, Rebecca Hall. It looks fantastic. It's just a popcorn flick. This is the true definition of a popcorn flick. And I've been looking at some of the reviews. Let me just quickly see what the Rotten Tomatoes currently is on this movie. I've been looking at the reviews of this film, and quite frankly, look, this film clearly won't be for everyone. No film is for everyone. But when I hear some of the reviews, I'm like, wait, you do understand what you were going into with this, right? I just get the impression, at least when it comes to the critics, and by the way, obviously, critics are movie fans like us. That's why they do their job. But it's down to 53% from the 60s it was at earlier. I feel like people are just looking for something that was never advertised to be there. Like with -1, that's a human story. A man who suffered from PTSD comes back from the war. But he can't seem to move on. And Godzilla just happens to be there. Here, though, it's like, let me see here. I'm just going to read 4 rotten reviews right now just to get an idea of what we're dealing with here. Godzilla X Kong is as big and loud as expected, but when the dust settles, there's nothing to hold on to. The kaiju clash is a crushing bore. I mean, okay, I guess. And look, opinions are opinions. Being in Hollow Earth takes some of the fun out of things. How? Okay. This also leaves Godzilla X Kong residing in a purely CGI arena without even tedious connections to reality. It's an empty chamber for movie spectacle and nothing else. I'm sorry. Do you think that they're actually in cities being destroyed when we saw Godzilla vs. Kong, which has like a 70%? Let's see. The underwhelming effects give you a new appreciation for what Godzilla -1 did in a fraction of the cost. Okay, and then the live-action motion capture performances are mostly marvelous, despite the bum dialogue and Wingard's tendency to rush through sequences and hold relations that might have been extraordinary had they been presented with patience and elegance. Okay, and I'm not going to do any more because that's not what this video is about. It's my take on it. I read every one of those 4 comments, and I'm sure there are plenty of more negative ones, but there's also a lot of positive ones too. I read all those, and it kind of reiterates the point I just made, that I don't think you understood the assignment with this movie. Like, look, again, opinions are opinions. I'm not trying to make excuses for why people don't like something. You should never do that. But it sounds like these people were looking for a very different film than what was advertised. You did see Godzilla vs. Kong, right? We basically are getting a 2.0 of Godzilla vs. Kong. There's more monsters, there's more special effects, there's more action, and guess what? Even though it's still a $100+ million film, if I know the budget on this film correctly, and I believe I do, I think it's like only $135 million for its budget, which by Hollywood and Godzilla $135 million on Godzilla by Hollywood and Monsterverse standards for a film like this. That is impressive. That is insanely impressive that we got this big of a spectacle, these good of effects, on $135 million. By the way, and I don't know what the marketing budget is on this film. My guess is it's probably at least $100 million. In fact, I'd be guaranteeing New Empire. Let me actually just type that in real quick while I'm doing that. Marketing budget. Marketing budget. Do we have the answer to the marketing budget? Let's find out there, shall we? But marketing budget. Let's find out. Okay. Do we have the marketing budget on this? Is estimated budget? Come on. There we go. In case it feels safe to estimate a budget around 200 million, knowing the high end of franchise typically 35 million for the actual budget. I'm not finding the marketing budget. Most people are saying over 200 million, which would make sense if we factor in probably at around $100 million. Then you're looking at a film that's made on 235, which means that this film only has to hit, no joke, only 350, and it's profitable. Not even 350. But more back to the point of actually praising the movie. So yeah, I'm like, everything they said, I'm like, but that's the stuff I think really works. We see a lot more of Hollow Earth. I love speculative evolution because I'm a big just sci-fi creature animal kind of guy. And so when I see like the creatures and the ecology of Hollow Earth, I'm like, this is really cool. We see a lot more monsters. We see like these cool bird things, these weird dog things. There's a giant serpent that attacks at one point. And obviously we meet more of the Kong race. It's really cool. Then we also on the surface see more Titans. We've seen Scylla is the name of the crab squid spider Titan. And we see Godzilla has a fight with that Titan. It's a pretty cool fight. But we also see another Titan who I knew about in the comics make an appearance called Tiamat. And Tiamat is a cool Titan. It's like a sea serpent kind of Titan. And they have a clash, Godzilla and Tiamat, and it's pretty cool too. To one thing I will say that I do kind of agree with what they said in a couple of those reviews I just mentioned. It does seem like it isn't a long movie. I believe it's only at around an hour and 50 some odd minutes, was it? 55 minutes, just under 2 hours. The pacing at points does feel like it's trying to move along, particularly with some of the fights. Like you're gonna get this fight and then it's over in a couple seconds. Like not only like 2 seconds, but it's over in maybe 30 seconds until you get to like the big fight at the end. That does seem to be a little pattern leading up to some of the big moments. And yeah, I could maybe stand 5 more minutes of just either a little bit more fighting with the kaiju, just to at least the first few fights, to kind of drag it out a little bit more, or maybe just to touch up a little bit of the dialogue and character relations, because if there is a weakness in the movie, it is the humans. And admittedly, the story isn't weak per se. It's just there's so much nonsense going on here. A lot of people notice at this point Mothra's in the movie. How Mothra actually comes back, though, even my girlfriend was like, "No, it's just what's so weird about it?" I was like, explain to me how they brought Mothra back. Literally, you watch the scene. Explain how she just comes back, and she kind of goes, "Okay, all right." I was like, "Okay." I'm like. Literally, like, when Mothra comes back, there's no... Mothra's great. When we see Mothra, she's great. I love her. But there still is no logical explanation. They explain what... They explain how... Let me see if I can say this phrase properly. They explain what needs to be done to bring Mothra back. They just don't explain how she's actually brought back. So when you watch it, you'll know exactly what I mean if you've watched it. The humans, to be fair, while I've heard a lot of people say the humans are terrible, I don't think they're terrible. I think Rebecca Hall is doing just fine. Honestly, I think all 4 of our main humans, which is Rebecca Hall, Tyree, oh God, why am I blanking? Why am I blanking on his name? Brian Tyree Henry. There we go. Brian Tyree Henry, Dan Stevens, and Kaylee Hody, who plays Gia. I think they're all doing what they can with the material they have. Sometimes sometimes pretty funny. Like, I think Brian Tyree and Dan Stevens are pretty funny together a lot of the time. But there's dialogue that doesn't work from both of them, and it does get like, just, okay, can we roll along a little bit? The relationship, though, I think works the best is Rebecca Hall and Gia, Kaylee. I do believe their relationship as an adopted mother and daughter. I absolutely do believe that. And I believe there's a scene near the end that actually is very touching between them. Where I think that the one critic, I don't remember, I didn't say the name because I'm not going to just call people out, but where the critic said, his tendency to rush through sequences and hold relationships that might have been extraordinary had they been presented with patience and elegance. I don't think it's that bad, but you could have used a little bit more time to flesh that out a little bit, or just extend some sequences there. I can agree with that. But, like, the fact that it's a bore, like, maybe you're just not this is just not your type of movie, and that's fine. But I didn't get that at all. Like, if you're a big lore, mythology kind of individual, you can definitely dig on this film, because where all the weaknesses stand are, like, the humans and some story plot elements, the strengths are the world itself. It's still, and by the way, I don't know what the hell this person is saying is underwhelming effects. Like, I'm sorry, to each their own, admittedly, but I don't know what you're getting at with underwhelming. Like, what were you expecting, I guess, is the problem. And actually, yeah, that's the problem, is that you can't go into a movie, any movie, with a certain level of you go in with a certain level of expectation, but you try to put as much of that at the door. You can't be going into a movie saying, it's like, show me what you got. Like, you can't do that, because then you're just amping yourself up to be disappointed. But no, the effects, I think, look great. Kong looks fantastic. Kong, it's amazing what they can do with Kong. Because even from Skull Island, Kong, because of the fact he's an ape and a gorilla and very intelligent, we're actually able to get a lot more emotion across with Kong than we are on Godzilla. Godzilla occasionally can express emotion. We occasionally do see that. But Kong is where the emotional heart of the movie really lies. Because one other complaint I've heard, and I think it is minorly valid, is that even though it's got Kong X Godzilla X Kong, Godzilla's got the name over the marquee. He's got the headliner name. Even though it is called that, Godzilla admittedly is just kind of there throughout a lot. Until we get to I want to say the midpoint of the movie, Godzilla is just kind of, I would say actually maybe like the last third. The climax where the two finally meet up again. Godzilla is kind of just doing his own thing. Now, they do explain what's going on. Like, and I don't give away anything that's not in the trailer, or try not to. But they do say that Godzilla and Kong can sense that something's coming. That's not entirely true, though. Godzilla definitely can. And what he's been doing the whole time is he's been prepping. He's been just absorbing radiation. So when we see him in the ice, he's basically just getting ready for what's coming. That's what's going on there. But this is more Kong's story about him living, trying to find more of his kind, not failing, and then one day actually finding them. And, you know, that first meeting with, I believe what's the name? People are calling him Diddy Kong, and admittedly, kind of. But the little Kong. And let's put it this way. That little Kong is a scrappy mother effer. He is a scrappy SOB. And when they first meet, there's a fight between him and some other Kongs. And it gets, first off, he obviously kicks their ass, but it gets hilarious, especially when he involved the little one. I'm not going to say what he does, but the term redheaded stepchild comes to mind. If you know if you think about it, you'll know what I mean. But because all the Kongs are apes and they're very, expressive. So we get a lot of that. We get the bonding, and we get ultimately him finding his people, and him kind of being the liberator of his people, again from the Scar King, which again leads to a very funny scene involving him and another Kong. But then you get the actual villain of the film, and they explain the lore of the Scar King and at least a little bit of Shimu. But yeah, the Scar King. They make him out to be a good villain. They make him out to be a formidable villain. He's clearly someone who gets off on causing pain. Like, he enjoys it. Like, his whole demeanor is basically just like, I've been the top shit this whole time. And there's a reason I've been the top shit this whole time kind of attitude. It's like, oh, new guy. Who's the guy here? It's just like, like he's kind of nuts, and you can tell he's evil. He's also not as bulky as Kong, but he's a lot more agile, and he fights like it. Him and Kong obviously have the first interaction and then the final fight. It is just badass. you get eventually to like the meeting of the Kong Godzilla again, which is pretty funny. There's actually, I want to say, like an Age of Ultron moment, kind of when, like, to describe it, it's like when Tony's trying to beat Hulk in submission, he just says, "Go sleep, go sleep, go sleep, go sleep." Like, and it's kind of like that. Oh man, you get to see some great like wrestling moves thrown out in this movie. Like, it really is kind of a nod to the Showa era of Godzilla. Now, if the Showa era isn't your cup of tea with the goofiness, because that's it, the Showa era is the goof era. It's the Gorge era. It really is. There's good stuff. I mean, the original Gorge era from 1950s. That was the show. That's the start of the Showa era, sure, and that was a very serious film. But once you get past, I want to say Godzilla Raids Again, and you go into Godzilla versus Mothra, then, I mean, they take it seriously, but then the goof really starts to creep in. It's not until you get to Heisei era where you get into the much more serious, and don't want to even get me started. What was it, Godzilla Monster Island, where it's all a dream and Menya's the big, oh, I might be getting the name wrong, but you know exactly which one I'm talking about if you're a Godzilla fan. But then the Heisei era and then the Millennia era came, and obviously you got Shin Godzilla. And even though the 1999 Matthew Broderick one's goofy, it's taking itself pretty seriously. It's unintentionally, but I like it as a monster movie, just a shit Godzilla movie. But then you get the legend, and all these films after Showa, leading up to basically like these last two films, really, have all taken the much more serious, darker approach to Godzilla. Some much more darker, some just more like serious and mature tones to Godzilla. And the first Godzilla did well enough. The Kong did well enough. Then Godzilla vs. Godzilla King of the Monsters didn't do that well. But then Godzilla vs. Kong came out. And Godzilla vs. Kong was never taking itself too seriously. It took itself just seriously enough for us to feel the threat and feel the menace. But never once did it go too goofy. But never once did it say, "Oh my God, this, that, and this. Oh my God." It's like, oh God, human drama. No. I think the American Godzilla movies and monster movies, unlike the Japanese ones, which can completely be human dramas, absolutely they can. I think they are leaning more towards these movies you want to come and see the monsters. We can go to those other Godzilla movies for the human pathos, but if we just want to see monsters clashing, these are the movies we want to go to. And I think that's important to understand when going into this movie. This is not the human story. This is the kaiju story. The humans are there to help push the story and move the story along, but they're not the important piece. They're not the center, they're not the crown jewel. That would be Godzilla's back fins right there. So yeah, I very much had a good time with this movie. Is it, I think, the best movie of the year? Oh no, it's not the best movie of the year. Is it one of the most fun movies of the year? Let me just quickly remember what I've seen this year. Hold on 1 second, because I think that's actually an astounding yes so far. This is probably the most fun I have had all year at the movies. Let me see here. So I'm just gonna do that real quick so I don't get, okay, so playlist, where's my movies I've seen so far of 2024? Hold on. By the way, to the person who can't find my Pokemon Team Creation Series video, I'll put a link in the description if you're watching this, but yeah, just search through the playlist for a while, you'll find it. I don't know why it doesn't always update. Yeah, it's weird. It doesn't always update the Pokemon videos, or like, let me rephrase that. When I update a playlist, the playlist doesn't always update to the very front of the playlists. Let's see. Okay. Like, for example, I just saw a movie last week. You would think my movie review playlist would be near the very top, but it's actually at the very bottom. I don't understand why that is. But regardless, come on. All right, activate the playlist. All right, and I need to shift the. Oh, come on. All right, 1 second here. Everything's just being so frustrating right now. All right, we can just get rid of that. Maybe that will help. Okay, go away. No, I don't want the video to. Whatever. Okay, point being, if I were to stop and think real quick, because for some reason My computer's just being weird right now. The internet's being weird. But I just have to think. Beekeeper was a lot of fun, but it's a different type of movie entirely. I had fun with Argyle, but Argyle was not a very good movie. This is a better movie than Argyle by a long shot. Kung Fu Panda's pretty fun. Ghostbusters had fun. No, I'll tell you right now, this is probably the most fun. Not the best movie, but the most fun I've had at the movie so far this year. Be honest. I'll be straight out honest. I would not mind seeing this again a second time just to be like, yeah, let me eat that kaiju goodness. But maybe, who knows? Maybe I will see it again. Maybe I won't. But I had just a blast with the movie. I had a great time. But this is just my opinion as always. Have you seen the movie yet? And by the way, oh yeah, someone had brought up the comment of they saw the movie. They thought the movie was a neat little movie, but Godzilla's napping half the time. Like, yeah, I can't argue that, but there's a narrative reason why you see that. Like, Godzilla's actually not he's actually kind of a MacGuffin for the villain, but he's not the MacGuffin of the movie. That's the thing. And for those wondering and thinking it's Kong, a lot of people were saying, oh, Kong beat Godzilla. This is bullshit. It's like, watch the movie, because they probably saw a clip briefly online about, them squaring off again and him getting clocked with that power glove he's got. Watch the movie. It's nowhere near as bad as you think it is. Anyway, I digress. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, who wants to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know the review of it at some point. And I'll see you folks for the next one.